Da-da-da, 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 da-da-da. The Sarah Cox Breakfast Show. Da-da-da. I'm sure it will sound nothing like that. I'm sure it'll be as far removed from Scott Mills as possible. Hello, welcome to another edition of Flash Talks, where we discuss the appointment of Miss Sara Cox to the Radio 2 Breakfast Show. I sent my message in earlier on. I know she was inundated with messages. I am very, very pleased for her. I must start by saying that. I'm very pleased for her. She's done 7 years on tea time, drive time, whatever you want to call it. And she's made it her own. And personally, since Jordan North left Radio 1, it has become my favourite drive time programme, tea time. And it's going to feel weird not having her there in that slot. But it was inevitable, wasn't it? We knew pretty much from the moment Scott Mills was sacked that this is the route the station would go down. They'd need stability. They needed a voice that the audience knew and loved. Historically, Sara Cox has been like Marmite, hasn't she? I've always loved her. Always. I love her now more on radio. I've said it before in previous videos. More on Radio 2 than I even did at Radio 1. I've grown up with her and she's a superstar. She really is. And it's so good to hear that they have gone with her. To the negative side of things, fortunately, we have to cover the fact that she is the chosen one to steady the ship after this chaos of Scott Mills being fast-tracked to be the biggest star at the station after only joining a couple of years ago. And it has backfired on the station, on Scott himself. I did my other video on it, and that was very raw and straight from the heart at the time. I have had time to reflect on it. Of course, I'm still gutted. I grew up listening to the man, and it's the thought of I may never hear him again is quite hard to take. And like I've said before, and I've said on this video, I hope he fights and clears his name and we can all move on from it. But it doesn't look very promising at the moment, does it? I mean, it's I was speaking to my mother-in-law about it all today because I got in the car, and you know, she's not like me, she's not massively into radio, but she'll have Radio 2 on now and again if she's ever got the car on, car on in the radio. She will have Radio 2 on often, or Greatest Hits, one of those two. And I just said, oh, they've finally decided who's replacing Scott Mills. And firstly, she said she'd never heard of Sara Cox. And then secondly, she said, oh, so he's definitely not coming back then. She said, yet another BBC star that's just been thrown out, and that's it. You'll never hear from them again. And she said the only way Scott Mills can ever get back at the BBC is by getting a job elsewhere. Well, if only it was that easy. I'm sure the likes of Global and Bauer would be knocking at his door right now. They probably have maybe reserved with his management that, you know, if he clears his name, there's a space for him here. But that seems a very, very long way off. And back to the Coxie news. Her statement, of course, she's going to say all the stuff she said. Of course, naturally she's going to be excited. But at the same time, and I'm sure she's going to do many press interviews. There's probably stuff out there already that I need to go and look at. I'm sure she would have been hounded after her tea time. They were very clever with the timing of it today, actually. It came out about 2:30, so I imagine she would have already been in the studios at Radio 2 prepping for the tea time show. So they're very clever to get it out there so the press can't hound her coming in. But I'm sure she's been inundated with press since she's come off the air at 7 p.m. tonight. I'm a bit disappointed that there was nothing in the statement from either Helen Thomas and Sarah herself. Obviously, probably for legal reasons, they haven't mentioned Scott at all. But I would have liked to have heard like along the lines of, because I was thinking about it the other day, and I just had an inkling it was going to be Sarah Cox. I think most of us knew it anyway. I would have liked to have heard along the lines of course, don't want to be taken over in these circumstances, but this is what it is, and this is the direction the station is going to go down, blah, 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 along those sort of lines. But yeah, it's just a case of they have wiped clean of him and they don't even want to mention him. And like I just said, it'll be a legal situation probably, but more disappointment towards Helen saying that she's very excited about Sarah's appointment. You were very excited about Scott's appointment. Like I said, you fast tracked him into the position of the breakfast show host. Where do the station head next? I mean, you've got who takes over tea time? Who does it affect listening figures? I think it will. On the most part, I've been looking at a lot of social media for the general reaction. Of course, on the Scott Mills fan Facebook page, which has been really OTT recently. I know it's been like a period of grieving, really, almost since his sacking, but it gets a bit much. No, I've not left the group because, I almost feel like just in case one day he comes back, and it could become a nice nostalgia page as well. But it has been quite full on. Yeah, it's where does it go? I mean, I've over on that page, I think most of the comments it's been mixed on that page. Obviously, you'll get loads going, "Oh, I'm not going to listen," blah blah blah. I'm back in Scotland. I'm not going to listen, blah 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 blah. But yeah, and then other sites have been very very positive. The unofficial Mills tribute site, forum site, tribute site. Very positive comments, and I myself was on there commenting how pleased I am for her, but I wish it wasn't in these sort of circumstances. And that's how I personally feel. I wish it hadn't come to this. I wish she'd been given breakfast a long time ago, probably when Chris Evans left. I think she should have got it over Zoe Ball, but that's a debate for another day. Moving on to where they go with tea time. I think they sort of teased it. I think they might go down the route of OJ from his midnight show. And then you'll say, well, who's going to take the midnight show? Now, I was thinking about this before I did the video. They'll either replace him with, I was thinking a couple of weeks ago, maybe Ellie Brennan comes off of breakfast and goes back to being based in Salford, and she can do the overnight show. She could be a good fit for it. Do they go with Richie Anderson full time for it, or do they go with someone completely different? Time will tell. I personally think it will be OJ for Drive or Tea Time, and potentially they move the whole team to Salford, and the whole of the Drive Tea Time outfit gets done from up there rather than London. And this could be a bad thing. Another thing they could do is not actually replace OJ. If he goes to Drive, and we know what the BBC is like with cost cutting as of late, They could say, right, let's extend Spoonie's show from 10 to midnight to 10 till 1, and then we will cut overnight programming. We don't have anything overnight until 4 a.m. when Owain is on from Cardiff. So that could be a route they go down. Just watch out for that one. Do watch out for that one. Or maybe not even extend Spoonie. He still does 10 till midnight. And then there's no live programming from midnight until 4 a.m. But we'll see. Other shouts possibly for Drive. Coxie mentioned on air earlier on thanking Rylan for the lovely message. Rylan Clark could get the show. I hope not. I really hope not. He's just not my cup of tea. I've never been a fan of him. And also, he was so close to Scott. I would think you can't put it on him because it's not his fault. I would imagine the station would want to move past the whole Scott era, and because Rylan was so close, they did the podcast together, so close with him, they'd want to go the opposite way. But I could be wrong. They could go down the route of a bit like what Radio 1 do and do random pairings. We could get, you know how Hart gives you Jamie and Amanda in the morning, and then you've got JK and Kelly in the afternoon, and Gemma and who's the chap? Gemma and whoever on hits. They seem to like these duos on Drive slots a lot of the time. Radio 1 as well. You got Vic, Katie, and Jamie when take your pick of that lineup. So we could head down the route of maybe Rylan and Emma Willis. I don't know what their schedules are like, what their times are like. They could do Drive. Or people are saying reward Gary Davis. He's the man that's doing the hard slog at the moment of waking up the nation after this awful time. And hats off to him. I haven't really listened. I listened to the start. It was like a period of mourning, really. But apparently things have improved on the breakfast show. Gary's a nice bloke, decent bloke, but he's never really been my cup of tea. He's good, and I think like Gary and Mark Goodyear, good cover options for Radio 2 for any show, pretty much. But they could see how popular he's been covering breakfast in this tricky time, and then go down his route. In terms of listenership, I think the radios are going to be very interested next month, and there will be a video on here. It will include some of Scott's audience share, and then it will include some of Gary as well. I think timing-wise, I'm sure the cut-off was the start of this month, so Scott was dismissed, or his last show was on the 24th of March. Rather interesting. That was it today, that you can no longer listen to his old shows on BBC Sounds. They've now officially gone. So I'll be intrigued. I'll be intrigued to see where it goes. I hope they don't drastically dive, because I do like Sara, and it'd be unfair on her to lose thousands of listeners or millions of listeners or whatever over time because of what's happened. But you can also understand why people are switching off, because we don't know the full facts on what's happened. It could be another case of the BBC just throwing someone out the door. Time will tell indeed. I don't know how I feel about it all still, but Sara, I will listen. Of course I will. Like I said, I've grown closer to her on tea time. I'm going to miss some of the things, because some of the things naturally won't work on breakfast. It is very family friendly, her tea time show, and no doubt that will continue on to breakfast. I'll be intrigued to know what the jingles are going to sound like, what sort of features she's going to have. Me and my daughter love the Life's a Happy Soul dance at 6 o'clock every evening. We love it after the 6 o'clock news. It is just perfect. It's become our little thing. So it's going to be sad to see that go. If it could be on in mornings, great. And also, I really, really like. I know it's some people moaned about it at the time, but I do love the half hour, the end to her shows every Monday to Thursday, 6:30 till 7. Just half hour of cracking tunes and shout outs and whatnot. And yeah, also All Request Friday. Will that remain a thing on the tea time tea time show, or will it move to breakfast? I can't see a whole breakfast show on a Friday doing just requests. I can't see that working. So I think if it does stay, it will stay with tea time. It's a great thing. I tried to get through last week to do a request for my son, but boy oh boy, those lines were busy. Just could not get through. It's a fantastic show, and yeah, it's going to be missed. But stay tuned when we get the news on who the new tea time host is. If it's OJ, then what happens? I'm sure it'll all come out in the press release soon enough. It's interesting that it says it starts in the summer, but no actual date of when breakfast starts. So don't know. There was something initially that apparently it starts in weeks, but that's been cleared up. And also, Drive was supposed to be cleared up today as well, but obviously it hasn't. Anything breaks, I will be on here letting you know and my thoughts on it. And please do as well. These videos always cause a bit of a reaction. Radio seems to be my most popular topic on here, so please do leave comments below. Let me know what you think about the whole situation, and like, share and subscribe to the channel, folks. Thanks very much. Flash Talks over and done with Sarah Cox.